Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the album review show. We've made it to episode 3. That's quite an achievement, isn't it?
Yes.
So This is the show, if you haven't listened already, where we pick an album to review and we give our honest opinion, what we love about it, what we hate about it, everything in between.
Yeah, this week we're focusing on Miley Cyrus's new album, Plastic Hearts. But before we get into it, what's your track of the week this week, Mark?
I struggled a little bit this week because being in the industry, we know that it sort of closes down a little bit towards the end of the year, doesn't it? And less people are releasing new music. So I've struggled to find a sort of up-and-coming artist, but I've gone for Taylor Swift, one off her new album. And I won't say too much about it because not giving too much away, but we might be looking at it in a bit more detail in a few more weeks' time. But it's No Body, No Crime, featuring Haim off that album. It's such an interesting track. It's like a Netflix true crime documentary within a song.
Oh, it's brilliant, isn't it? It really is a fun song that just ticks a load of boxes and ones that you didn't even know that you wanted ticked.
Yeah, and the backing vocals from Haim in it are great. I love the collaboration between them two, and the story just keeps you captivated right to the end, doesn't it? And nice few twists and turns in there. But as I say, I won't say too much on that because I'm sure we'll come back to it in a future episode. So what's your track of the week
this week? For me, I haven't stopped listening to the Staves' new track called Good Woman. It's like Fleetwood Mac kind of vibes, and the Staves are quite folky kind of stuff, but this one's got a bit more of a beat to it, a little bit more grit, a little bit more of an attitude. And I think it's the title track to their new album that's being released in February, which is exciting for us because we might get to delve into it a little bit more. But yeah, the Staves' Good Woman it's called, and just a really lovely song. Their voices, that when they start singing together, they're like sirens, and I'm on a ship. I just get drawn to it. It's like caramel for your ears. Just great song, sung beautifully, written really well, and dead catchy. Really, really catchy.
As we mentioned in the last episode, our tracks of the week plus the full album that we're reviewing will be in the Spotify playlist that we'll make for this episode. It'll be in the link below if you're watching on YouTube.
Yeah, I think we'll probably put it in our bio in Instagram and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, if you want to go and listen to it, you'll be able to find it.
So Miley Cyrus then, I'm excited to get into this album. So Miley doesn't really need much introduction, but I'll give him one anyway because that's what I usually do on these podcasts.
I live for your introductions, I really do.
Hours worth of research we put into these introductions.
I love it.
So she's the daughter of Billy Ray Cyrus. She's actually the best-selling female artist born in the 1990s. That's some stat, isn't it?
Wow.
And she's attained the most US Billboard 200 top 10 albums in the 21st century by female artists. So she's just turned 28 and she's been in the industry a long time, and she started Hannah Montana in 2006. So she's been doing sort of musical bits since
12 or something, yeah. I mean, she's just been a household name since then, hasn't she?
Yeah, it's quite controversial media figure as well, isn't she? She wears a heart on her sleeve. Really interesting character. Really interesting voice. Not just singer voice, her speaking voice is really cool, isn't it?
Yeah. Wears a achy breaky heart on her sleeve.
Yeah.
Or is that too much?
Get out. She actually lost the house as well in the Malibu fires in 2018, and I recently watched an interview with her with Zane Lowe where she mentioned that she lost quite a lot of computers and studio equipment that obviously had a load of her back catalogue on, loads of journals that she'd been writing songs in as well, so that must have been hard to rebuild from as well, mustn't it?
Must have been really difficult. Obviously you've got the shock, just the emotional shock of, like, you know, you've lost your house. Don't care how rich you are, like that must be really, really difficult to deal with just on that level. Then you realise, oh, all of my job is inside that house. So everything you've been working on, pretty much your entire life is gone. That must have been a real obstacle to overcome. Yeah. It must have been really difficult.
So Plastic Heart is a new album. It's her 7th studio album, and it was released on November 27th, 2020. And she's gone in a bit more of a rocky direction with this. Obviously, her previous work has been a bit more poppy, R&B based, but this, she is really influenced, I think, by a lot of 80s, 70s female artists.
Yeah, she's collaborated with a few of them on the record as well. I think that's one of the main themes that I got through the record is this collaboration theme. You know,
yeah, she's got some whoppers on there.
Some real names have come through for her here, and some really great songs because of it. I wasn't too sure when I first gave it my first listen, to be honest with you. It's been a grower for me, definitely, the whole record. Obviously, so we open up with What the Fuck Do I Know? Energy for days. It's a great opener for a record.
Yeah, I really like the driving synth bass that starts it off, and the way the drums come in and drop out again before the chorus.
Yeah, it makes a big statement straight away, musically, you know, straight away. And it's a strange one, isn't it? Because you're almost kidded into it being a rock band setup. The sounds sound a little bit more organic than what we're used to from Miley Cyrus. So it sounds a little bit like a rock bass being played, and the drums sound a little bit more like they're being played when actually they are samples or whatever, but it is a rockier vibe and a more like kind of 80s kind of thing. That's another theme that runs through the whole record, is this kind of like 80s hair metal rock, kind of LA infused kind of thing.
Yeah, you can really tell the 80s influence on there. The chorus is huge, isn't it? The added tambourine in the second half of the chorus to sort of take it to that different place is great. A theme that sort of runs throughout the album for me that I was a bit disappointed on is that I know she's going for this rockier direction, and as I say, she used the tambourine in this instance for the second half of the chorus to open it out, but I would have liked to have heard like an open hi-hat or a ride crashing throughout it, just to
give it that organic energy.
And I can see why she's done it. It's obviously towing that line between going in that direction that she wants to go and also keeping that relationship with loyal fan base who probably aren't used to that sort of rock production. Yeah,
it's kind of like a gateway, isn't it? You know, hopefully maybe in the future she might record an album with a live band or, you know, something like that, and you'll get them kind of techniques used, because that's the tools that they're using to make the record. But with this one, as you say, it's a little bit, you know, plastic hearts. You know, it has a plastic element that runs through this record. As you say, you think it's a bit organic, but actually it's still a little bit plastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the guitar solo in this. It's just brilliant, isn't it?
It is
so 80s.
Yeah, really 80s, really outrageous. Just fun. Again, it's Miley Cyrus. It's fun. It's kind of like a caricature almost of an 80s guitar solo, but it really, really works. I think one thing that really comes across in this whole record is the lyricism that she can apply to it. She obviously takes a lot of care in writing the lyrics. She's obviously very, very involved in the writing process. Maybe not for music, or I'm not too sure, but for the lyrics, the lyrical content and the emotional content in the song, she is a big driving force in that. As you say, she lost a lot of journals in the fire and all this, but she's also gone through a big public divorce in the time that, you know, just before writing all this and everything. So a lot of that comes out, that frustration, relationships.
They get a terrible rap on this record, don't they? Relationships.
Yeah, don't listen to this if you're a fan of love. She's very, very honest, brutally honest at times. But I mean, I liked how it's not just love relationships that she's attacking. She's attacking her relationship with the media, with her own family, with her friends, with herself, with death. You know, there's a lot of relationships that she's attacking, but relationships is a big theme of this record. There's a really great lyric in this first track, and it says, "Guess I couldn't be somebody's hero." And what I got from that was about this expectation to live up to her fans' perspective of what they think she is, if you know what I mean. Constantly having to be on, maybe. She lives in LA. She's very famous. She's gonna get seen. You know, she's in the public eye just a lot. And maybe I think that was a kind of a nod to that. Maybe I can't be the hero all the time. I have to be real and I have to be me. You know.
Yeah. Okay. So track 2. Plastic Hearts. What's your take on this one?
This one brings up a bit of an issue I had with the album. I found it a really odd follow-up to the first song. You had all this energy, this really high energy song to open the record, and it was like a party song, you know, to open the record, and then it just drops straight into this, and I found myself being a little bit deflated by that. I think one thing that I would absolutely change about this album is the track list.
Yeah, I had that.
It kind of jumps around a little bit, and And I found that was the thing that I struggled with the most, I think, for the album. They could have focused on track listing a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that comes with collaborations, not just with the singers that she's collaborated with, but producers as well. Obviously, she's got some tracks with Mark Ronson on there, and then there's a few other producers that she's worked with, and I suppose working that way probably does skew the album order in some way, doesn't it? It's hard to put a proper body of work together.
Yeah, as I say, don't get me wrong. It's a great song. It's a good song. It's a good Miley Cyrus song. I just thought, why would you put this one next? Yeah. And that's just me. Some people might have gone, oh, I needed that after that big opener. I needed a little bit of a rest, you know. But it's got a really nice swing to it. The BVs are great. It kind of reminded me of like a 60s girl group kind of thing, and I liked it. I did like the song. If you play it just on its own, I like the song, but within the context of the album, I was confused.
Well, I really like the way it starts, to be fair, with just the bongo and the tambourine and then some piano chords underneath their vocal.
Yeah, as I say, on its own, sounds great. But after that first song, it sounds like you're going from Billy Idol into Jack Johnson. And I was just like, I can't get past this. But, as you say, very nice song on its own. Really, really nice.
Yeah, and interesting fact, Red Hot Chili Peppers drummer Chad Smith plays drums on this track.
Oh, right. That is quite interesting because I didn't know he was doing anything.
Similar thing to the first track. The drums open up nicely with that percussion in the second half of the chorus, but again, I feel like it could have been trashier. Yeah,
they could have dirtied up this one, and it might have worked a little bit better in the grand scheme of things, you know. But we can move on. Angels Like You.
Yeah, so this is a bit of a power ballad, I think. I don't know, maybe this album's Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, and the first thing I thought was this is a Miley Cyrus that I've heard before. Might have had a slightly different outfit on. The sounds were maybe a little bit more 80s and that kind of thing, but it was like Bonnie Tyler, really high powered ballad, really nice swelling power ballad. As you say, it might have been the wrecking ball of the album.
Yeah, and again, she lets the vocals do the work to start the track off, which is a bit of a theme running through the album, to be honest. The way the songs are structured, she's got a fantastic voice, hasn't she?
You cannot deny the fact that she must be one of the best singers out there at the moment.
Certainly in her peer group, she's unrivaled, I think.
Yeah, this song for me, just kind of like a slow country rock ballad. That it felt like she's possibly maybe thought she might have to do to keep the fans happy.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a problem I had with the album. That's a point where I was like, yeah, there's new direction in some parts, but maybe this one is like, let's get everyone on board. One thing I did notice about this track was that the lyrics are fantastic.
Yeah, the content's great. Yeah.
Content of the lyric is really emotional, and it's where she excels. It really is where she excels as a singer, you know. She might not be the musician, but she is a brilliant singer.
I like the build up in the middle eight as well.
Yeah.
I think that adds quite a nice bit of tension and release to it. Builds up just before the last chorus, and then you power into that last chorus. I love that.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I did find it a little bit boring at times, but after Plastic Hearts, I was expecting something else, and then this came in, and maybe I wasn't in the right headspace for it, because on its own, again, it's a very good song. The track listing, again, just kind of threw me out. But the next track is maybe the best one on the album.
Yeah, it's a great track, isn't it? It really hits hard.
Yeah, the groove start, you know, that groove that comes in, it's like infectious, isn't it?
Yeah, this is where the album really starts for me.
Yeah, definitely. The Dua Lipa influence is definitely prevalent. It's got that disco feel.
And Dua Lipa herself, her vocals on it are brilliant in the first verse and in the chorus and stuff. They're quite similar artists in a way, aren't they? Like real show women.
Yeah, this has just got such a nice dry disco kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
I just love it. I think it's got a great feel, great groove. The melodies just throughout are really great. And I saw a good thing where Miley Cyrus said in an interview that, you know, they started writing it or whatever, but it started to just sound like Dua Lipa, so they just got her in.
What position to be in?
Yeah, really great position to be in, but I think it's a great thing that you're influenced by one of your peer group, and she used the term, we got her in to legitimize it.
Yeah.
And I just think that's absolutely a great headspace to be in, rather than like, oh, let's stop and let's try and think of something else. It's like, well, no, it feels good and it sounds good, so let's crack on and just get air in, because it's going to legitimize the whole thing. You know, I really enjoy that headspace.
Yeah, I really love the sort of 808 drum machine double claps at the end of each bar as well.
Yeah. Just the whole thing sticks in your head, I think.
Yeah, the bass and drums really vibe together.
Yeah, definitely. And I love that it starts with the chorus. I love a song that starts with the chorus. Starts with the chorus, and again, it's just mainly the vocal that comes in, makes you really focus on that hook, which repeats throughout the whole thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I love that coupling, repetitive. Yeah, the prisoner, off my mind. Just hypnotic. That for me, I love it. Yeah,
but it's by design, and it's, as I say, when I say that, it's clever production, because it starts with the chorus. It starts with that, and that's what you instantly greeted with. So by the time the first chorus comes along, you're already familiar with it, and it's already in your head. The first chorus is just drums and bass musically for the first half of it. So for the prisoner bit, and again, all you can focus on there is the lyric. Psychologically, there's nothing really else for you to focus on melodically. So you have to focus on that lyric and that hook, and then the rest of the music comes in the second half of the chorus. It's a really, really clever way of just saying, this is the thing that we want you to listen to over and over and over and over again. Because even in the second chorus, it does a kind of a similar thing where the production lifts in the second half, because they want you to just sing prisoner over and over again. That's the bit they want you to, they call it earworms. That's the earworm that they want you to just go away with.
I love that part in the second half of the chorus as well, the why can't you, and it's got like the synth which follows the melody, which really brings that 80s vibe to it, I think.
Again, just having that unison vibe to it has so many connotations from the 80s. That's such a technique from then, and I love the ending of the track. The ending kind of goes a bit crazy, doesn't it? But I think that, again, that's on purpose, because you get to the ending where it's like half time and a bit different. You can put it on straight away and it sounds new. You can, if you've got it on repeat, it doesn't get boring, because at the end it sounds so different to the start. So if you've got it on repeat, it sounds new. It sounds refreshing to hear. It's really, really clever. Very, very well done by everyone involved, because, as I say, the lyrics are brilliant, the melody's brilliant, everything works about it. It's just like a class pop song. Yeah,
I love it. It gives me sort of GTA soundtrack vibes.
Was it Vice City?
Yeah, that's the one.
It's got that just down the middle 80s kind of vibe to it, and it just drives through the whole thing. You'd expect nothing else from that kind of team. Miley Cyrus, I think one of the producers is What, and Dua Lipa. You expect nothing else from Dua Lipa. She is just an absolute queen of what she does.
Yeah, it's a powerhouse of brilliant female vocals, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great how well the two vocals work together, because that can be quite difficult when you've got two powerful people who dominate in their own respective fields that then comes together. How does that dynamic work? It works really, really well. They've just done it to the absolute T.
Yeah. So let's move on to track 5, which is called Gimme What I Want.
Yeah, opens up with a really nice bass sound. Gives you another kind of 80s vibe straight away from the bass sound, because it's kind of like a gritty bass sound. It gives you this attitude that comes from, the song's called Gimme What I Want, and it got this attitude straight away, a growly, gritty kind of attitude. And it's definitely got that Blondie, Debbie Harry kind of influence coming through. The whole record has, I think Miley Cyrus has, just at the moment, got that. She's got the mullet, the bleach blonde hair. She's got even down to the album artwork. It looks like an 80s punk cover.
Yeah, well, it was actually a photographer who worked with Debbie Harry and Joan Jett and people like that.
Yeah, Joan Jett's a big influence on this, you can tell. And obviously she's worked on a song later on called Bad Karma, but apparently Miley Cyrus has been on tour with Joan Jett, and she's obviously a bit of a mentor to Miley. So all these influences and powerful women are bleeding into her life and giving her her identity.
Yeah, I think this is quite a fun track, but it's probably one of the more forgettable ones for me, compared to the opening 4 on the album. Again, it's got that drop out before the chorus that she loves to do, and then hits back in with the impact. It's got quite a robotic drum machine hi-hat in the verse, hasn't it? And
this is one that I think, when she said she was honest about a lot of the relationships that she's had, even at a cost to the other party, you know, whoever it's about, this one's a really honest kind of portrayal of a relationship, and it's like saying, like, this is what I'm gonna do going forward. Maybe, you know, give me what I want, because that's what I need. You know, I'm not gonna be messing around with anything else. Yeah, I'm just gonna get what I want. As I say, as you said, it is a little bit forgettable. But one thing I really like was the ending. Yeah, the ending, it just kind of falls apart. The song just stops. There's no real formal big splashy ending. It just falls apart a little bit and then stops. Yeah, and I really like that, because it's not a pop thing to do at all. It is a bit 80s, like in how the form of the song is put together. You know, it is a bit experimental for her, definitely. And I really like that. So the next track we've got is Night Crawling, and features Billy Idol. Yeah, again, the 80s influence on this is quite White Wedding, and probably works in the same way as Prisoner, when she started to sound like White Wedding. So let's get Billy Idol to feature on it. Yeah, by all accounts, he was massively happy to do so, you know, and why wouldn't you be? Because it's a great song. That synthwave melody that runs throughout is just a real infectious thing for me. Yeah. He's just got this way of writing melodies, I think, that whether he wrote it or not, but, you know, when in his music, there are these melodies that can't help but just really enjoy. You know, there's a theatrical nature to them, and there's just this catchy thing. Don't be wrong, it's not my favourite song on the record. It's a little bit forgettable again, but at least I think now, after Prisoner, the track listing starts to work for me. Yeah, the songs start to really flow into the next song for a little bit, you know. Yeah, I actually quite like this one, to be honest. It grew on me. I think it was one of them at the start where I thought, I'm not sure if I'm going to like this, but after a few listens to the album, it was one of the favourite ones when it came around, and I do love Billy Idol's vocals in it. He's just so cool, isn't he? Yeah, I watched one interview when Miley said that she just asked Billy if he wanted to do something, and he can't even say yes without like singing it. And luckily they were recording it, and there's a part in the song where he just goes, yeah, and that's him just saying, yeah, I'll do that. But it was so like melodic and such like a Billy Idol thing. They just kept it in. But I just love little nuggets like that, you know. I like the offbeat and the bouncy hi-hat feel in the pre-chorus as well. Yeah, really nice feel to a lot of the song. As I say, it's got that synthwave thing. Yeah, it's like delving more into different 80s sounds and different 80s forms. It's got some sort of concert tom sounds as well on this one, I think. And can you guess who drummed on this track? No. Taylor Hawkins. Oh, from the Foo Fighters. So brilliant. Another little fun fact for you there. Yeah, I like. Do you know what? Like, it's great to hear that. Like, all these, she can just pull in these drummers. You know, two of the most famous bands in the world, Red Hot Chili Peppers and the Foo Fighters. She's just, can you come and drum on my album for me? Yeah. Yeah. You know, get Billy Idol in, get Taylor Hawkins in. It's brilliant. Yeah. And I think this is probably the most 80s glam rock track on this album for me. Yeah, and with Billy Idol, that's always going to happen, isn't it? So we'll move on to track 7, Midnight Sky, and this for me is one of my favourites, second favourite on the album. Yeah, was this the lead single that she came out with before the album was released? Yeah, and that's a great decision because it's such a great pop song, isn't it? And obviously it's heavily influenced by Edge of 17 by Stevie Nicks, and we'll sort of do a 2-on-1 on this because she's added the bonus track, hasn't she, on the end of the album, which is Midnight Sky and Edge of 17 mashed together. Yeah. Stevie Nicks is featuring on it. I kind of prefer the remixy mashed together one, but this one is a great song. Really great song. One thing I thought was there was a real Calvin Harris sort of sound to the whole record. It's got that like Calvin Harris bounce almost, you know. The drums, great intro. Kind of got like a I Want Your Love kind of feel, and just puts you in a great mood. And the bass line's really funky, I think, really prominent again. The bass lines throughout the record are really interesting, I think. Yeah, I think lyrically, I might be wrong here, but for me, I kind of took it as a story about her sobriety, maybe taking a look at past mistakes or drug and alcohol issues that she's had in the past and confronting them being honest with them and that's how you grow. That's how you grow as a person, you know, be honest with yourself and all that kind of stuff. And I really respect, if that is what this is, I really respected that. I think it's a great lyrical content in this song.
Production spot on for me, like it is throughout the record. I love these sort of 80s style backing vocals as well. Just a great pop song.
Yeah, got like it's got the 80s thing, but it has the modern twinge to it as well, which is what you need. And obviously in this landscape of pop music, you're always going to need these new techniques, but it's still got, it's like a Miley Cyrus song, but as I said, but in different clothes. You know, it's in 80s clothes, but it's still just brilliant for me.
Yeah, and obviously getting Stevie Nicks on is some coup, isn't it? And on the mashup version, and she's obviously heavily influenced by her again. She's got Debbie Harry, Stevie Nicks, Joan Jett.
It's just great to have all these powerful women on one record, isn't it? I did on a Joe Rogan interview. She mentioned that it's nice that she has the chance to be able to give her fans the opportunity to listen to people that they might not have heard of before. Obviously, with them being the demographic and the age group that they are, they might be too young. They might have never heard of Debbie Harry or Stevie Nicks or any of these people. She's bringing all of these people into 2020, and there's a discussion about them, and there's people listening to them, and that's only a good thing. Okay,
so track 8 is called High.
Another country-esque kind of
I put
vibe.
Country for this one,
Yeah, the start of the end of the album, I would say. It's a good, really, really good song, but as I say, after the previous track, and then after Midnight Sky, and then you jump into this, I didn't see like a huge high point again after this. I kind of felt like it was on the downward trajectory from here. Don't get me wrong, really, really great song that can be interpreted in quite a few different ways lyrically. It's obviously a relationship thing again, but whether it's with a person or whether it's, again, her battle with herself, it's just really nice to listen to someone being open and honest about their battles in relationships and stuff. I think for me, this one talks a little bit like about the confusion of loss. Obviously, she's been through a lot of loss over the past few years, and maybe he talks about that headspace when you don't really know what's happening, you know. And everyone knows that feeling. That's why it's so relatable. But I will say this, that I think the album should have ended there. Ironically, I think it should have ended on a high.
I really like the gospel feel. As I say on the last episode, I think that I'm a sucker for a gospel choir, and it's got that sort of vibe to it in the chorus, I think. And it really lets her vocal shine with that sort of lack of instrumentation. It's not overproduced, and it sort of reflects that more vulnerable side to her. Yeah,
definitely. And it's just honest, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the next track is Hate Me. I thought the chorus was pretty good. The verse was a little bit forgettable, a little bit wishy-washy for me. She obviously thought she had more to say, she had more to give. They carried on writing and everything. I thought this one might have been dealing with her own mortality, possibly. You know, the relationship with death and that kind of feeling that you get as you start getting older, and obviously the fire that she was been through, and all this kind of all these kind of feelings. I think that's kind of wrapped up in this song.
Yeah, I think for me it's probably my least favourite on the album. It's a bit more Disney.
It's a little bit nondescript, isn't it?
Yeah, I described it as it could be a Maroon 5 song. Still very catchy, and I love the passion in her vocals in it. But yeah, just the general feel of it was a bit safe for me.
Very safe, yeah. Again, I just thought didn't need to be on the record.
Yeah.
Feels like it's just filling a space, maybe, before the next one comes along.
Yeah.
So there's not really much more to say about that track, is there? But
no.
The next one is Bad Karma, and this one does feature Joan Jett from Joan Jett and the Blackhearts fame.
Yeah, and I know you said that the album started petering away a little bit in your opinion, but for me this is up there with one of my favourite tracks on the album.
This is the highlight of the end, if you know what I mean. Yeah. This is the one that probably would have swapped with another one earlier on in the record and just ended it on high, you know.
This is a punk song, so it's got that Joan Jett feel to it. I love the way it's just floor tom and snare. Well, it's just floor tom in the verse, isn't it? And then the snare kicks in the chorus. There's not much going on, it's just sustained chords in the chorus as well. And the drums in the bridge are fantastic, that build-up type thing again.
Yeah, I thought it's kind of a punky pop song in that it doesn't conform to pop regularities. You know, it's not verse, chorus, blah, 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 blah. It kind of doesn't go anywhere. It's a bit more of like a free jam.
Yeah.
And I think Mark Ronson said that it was written in a jam session, and you get that vibe from it. You get like a bit of everyone's feeling the room, and you know, it is a bit more of like an open jam song. She's quite honest in this song about her own flaws again, which is another theme of the record running through, how honest and brutal she's been with herself. One lyric that I picked up was, I've always picked a giver because I've always been a taker. And that's quite a difficult thing to admit to yourself and to other people, you know. That's my overarching feeling from this record in general. She's just so honest.
Yeah, 100%. I think I labelled it as a sexy punk song on my notes.
It's quite sexy.
There's nothing else like it on the album, really. It's quite an outlier, and that sort of vocal evocative use of the voice running through the verses is really cool, isn't it?
That kind of panting throughout the whole thing. Yeah. And Bad Karma, the title. Is karma good or bad? There's a question just in the title on its own. You know, is karma just karma? Yeah. Or can you have bad karma and good karma? Does that make sense? And it's kind of, there's punk all the way through it, you know, which is just lovely. And great to get Joan Jett, obviously one of her idols, one of her mentors, on the track. Next track is Never Be Me, and another ballad from Miley with this one, really. Another kind of Bonnie Tyler-esque. Yeah,
another 80s power ballad style.
Yeah. One of the lyrics I found was, if you're looking for someone to be all that you need, that'll never be me. And it just really, again, there was that confronting her fans a little bit, you know. Maybe that was the relationship she was talking about, but also in a relationship, I imagine it's really hard to like date a famous person, because you must already know that person in your head as something, and then you have to meet them and grow to know them and grow to love them and all this kind of thing. But you already have this predisposition in your head of who they are, and that must be really, really difficult. She must have to deal with that on a, you know, regular basis. Of people think they already know her, you know, and that'll never be me. You know, that's a really big statement
it's a
to me.
Statement, isn't it? Yeah, I wasn't a fan of this on first listen, but it has really grown on me. The sort of last two tracks on the album felt a little disappointing to me, but as I've listened quite a few times now for this show, I've actually grown to quite like this one, to be honest. I think this is the ending one for me.
Yeah, it's a little bit like Wolf of Wall Street, this. It could have ended 4 or 5 times before you actually get to the end. You know, the message of this song, I think, I just keep going back to the message of the lyrical content of these songs is what she needed to get out of her head, obviously. You know, it is kind of this, like, fame doesn't fix relationships. It makes them harder, and she's the person that has to deal with that. Yeah.
There are actually 14 or 15 tracks on the actual album, aren't there? But we're going to finish on track 12, which is Golden G-String, because the final few one's the Stevie Nicks mashup, and then
Edge of Midnight,
and then the other two are the live tracks,
cover of Heart of Glass by Blondie. Yeah. But this one, I really thought it's just about the message. It's all lyrical. Yeah. The whole thing is this dealing with like misogyny and power. Yeah. That's what I got from it anyway. Obviously, the lyric, the old boys hold all the cards and they ain't playing gin. Yeah. She's talking about, you know, men in power, really, you know, Trump and these things that are so prevalent in her life, in everyone's life. You know, it's a real hot issue, isn't it, at the moment?
She has cited Trump in a few interviews as well, right. I think, for this album.
Yeah. Which is, it's just a pushback to any kind of misogynistic leadership, really, isn't it? As I say, not a huge amount going on musically, and I think that's on purpose. Yeah. Because of the content of the lyrics. Yeah. I would say that there's just a few predictable synth pads that are knocking about, really.
I wasn't a huge fan of the drum samples either. They didn't hit hard enough for me.
Yeah, it's almost by design so that it's just a backdrop for what she's actually saying. You know, the message of the song is this, but we're just going to put it behind this backdrop of a song that you might listen to the music, but it doesn't matter. You know, it's like a speech to music.
Yeah, I wasn't blown away by it as an album finisher, really, but it does have a sort of nice, warm, fuzzy feeling to it. It's like a bit of a hug to send you off.
Well, one thing I did write down was, as when I say about the intentionality of the music not getting in the way of the lyrics, is that there's also a kind of another level there. You could say that the music is delicate and it has this feminine quality whereas the vocal has like a more masculine, powerful, domineering part, and that is almost the message of the song. It's kind of like the music is like an allegory of what she's talking about in the song, you know. Whether they meant that or I've just picked it up, I'm making it up in my own head, I don't know, but I did kind of get onto that a little bit. Yeah, so that kind of brings us to the end of the album. So what was your favourite track, first of all?
Prisoner.
I think I was the same. It's either Prisoner or Midnight Sky, isn't it?
Yeah. Really enjoyed listening to it and getting to know a bit of Miley, because I've not really listened to one of her albums before, I've got to admit. Yeah,
as I said in a previous episode, we're doing this to broaden our musical horizons, really, and we want to listen to stuff that we wouldn't normally listen to. So if you do suggest an album to us, we're going to take it and we're going to run with it and see if we can do an episode on it. But this was a really good one to just really get into the nuts and bolts of, because as you say, we've never really taken that much notice of a Miley Cyrus album.
No.
Obviously, you can't get away from the hits that come out, but it was nice to get to know her in a way through this album and through research and through, you know, the interviews that she's done and stuff.
She seems sound as well, you know. If Miley, if you're watching or listening, if you want to be our mate and hang out anytime, like
yeah, come down to Liverpool.
Yeah,
we'll have a drink. But I think my overarching thing was, this is a woman who grew up playing a character and now she's trying to find her voice. I think that's what really came across to me, in that no one's ringing Miley Cyrus up in the way that she's rung Billy Idol, Dua Lipa. No one's ringing Miley Cyrus to legitimise their song. Do you know what I mean? She doesn't have a musical style. You could argue it may be country, but no one's ringing Miley to legitimise their song, is my point. And so this is an album of her experimenting with a certain sound. There's also a freedom. She doesn't have to have a sound. She can do an album of 80s music and it's great.
Yeah.
You know, the next one might be an album of R&B or rap, or she's free to just explore anything.
Yeah.
Whereas you look at Billy Idol and he can only really write Billy Idol song.
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword. She's free to do whatever she wants. This is a pop record just full of boss pop songs at the end of the day. You know, the names that they've got in just write really good pop songs. Yeah,
the collaborations are great and the production's fantastic on it. It's respecting that rock element by not overproducing, but it's still got that pop shine, like we mentioned, which is a positive and a negative in some songs, really. As I said earlier, I would have liked to have heard some songs open up a bit more with hi-hats or cymbals, but she's done really well, I think, to get that rock edge across.
Yeah, one thing I will say is that I think this record is an open book. She's an open book lyrically, but also I think anyone listening can kind of get their own takeaway from it. Whatever you want out of this album, you can kind of get there in the end, if you know what I mean. It's because it's such an honest album. There's so many feelings that people feel every day in the album that you can just get what you want from it and you get what you need from it. And then, that's a brave thing to do, is to be so open, especially as such a famous, recognised person.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'd definitely go and see it live off the back of this album.
I would, definitely.
I think this album would be great to see live, and they probably would play in a more rocky way. I think her band is quite rocky when they play live. I've seen a few clips of her playing Glastonbury and different festivals. Yeah, and they do really let loose a bit more live, I think.
Going back to like the character thing, she's not playing a character anymore, and she might never find her sound, but her voice just transcends any kind of sound, and that's what really comes through. I might not think this is musically the greatest album in the world, but one thing you cannot deny is that this girl's voice is outstanding. And there is a few themes that run through the album, but one thing I do think as well is that she's such a role model for so many different people. She's an activist in name a minority. She's an activist for that thing. You know, as you said before, she just seems dead sound. Yeah. You know, she seems quite humble and down to earth. And for so many different sections of society that might need a role model now, especially, she's definitely that person. I'm probably gonna take more attention in the future of a Miley Cyrus album.
Yeah, me too. I think this album I'll continue to listen to, I think.
Yeah.
In terms of star rating out of 5, what would you give it?
At first I put down 2.5. I moved it to a 3 just because some of the pop bangers on there, you can't ignore them. The quality of song on there is just so big. I might not agree with some of the track ordering and some of the layout of the album. Other people will, and that's fine. But for me, it's a 3.
Okay, yeah. Well, I was very close. I went for a 3.5. Some of the collaborations are really impressive, and I think the extra half has to be given to them, really. And it really grew on me, the album. I've listened to it loads of times now. It's not the type of album that we can just review by listening to it a couple of times. So I've had to really do my research with this one, and I've grown to really like it, yeah. And I'll carry on listening to it. So yeah, 3.5 out of 5 for me.
Fab. Well, that brings us to the end of the podcast. So I must say again, thanks so much for listening. If you got this far, well in.
Yeah.
We're just doing this because it's really fun, and we really appreciate that people are downloading it, listening to it, and if you can, like and subscribe. That really helps us out, and we'll be back in the new year, hopefully, with some more musical reviews on the Album Review Show. Yeah, stay tuned to our social media accounts at the Album Review Show on Instagram, at Album Review Show on Twitter, the Album Review Show on Facebook. Email us if you've got any suggestions as well, info@thealbumreviewshow.com, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you can, send the podcast to someone. Yeah, share that helps us. Share it. Would be good, yeah. Yeah, we're not really pumping anything into advertising or anything like that, are we? So it's going to be a kind of an organic growth, this. So if it does grow, we're just doing it for the fun. We really enjoy doing it. And again, thanks so much. I hope you had an okay 2020. It's been difficult for everyone, but hopefully 2021 will be a little bit better for everyone. We'll get to see some live music, and we'll crack on with this, and everyone can crack on with their lives. Yeah, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of interesting albums to come out next year off the back of this year. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah. I really am. Yeah, so that's been the Album Review Show. Bye.